more and more women are buying guns.
For the longest time, it's always been assumed that it's the men who are the protectors. But when you really start to ask, who is the most responsible person in a household? It's the mom. It's my job to protect my family with whatever tools are available, and a firearm is just one of those tools.
But what does a gun culture full of women look like up close? I went to the National Rifle Association's first annual Carry Guard Expo in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to find out.
I'm expecting to see a lot of middle-aged Midwestern white people, to be honest. Right?
The demographics of American gun ownership are predominantly white. In the US, about half of white men and a quarter of white women say that they own at least one gun. That's compared to 24% of non-white men and 16% of non-white women.
There's a paramedic outside, I guess, just in case. Apparently, the Wisconsin Center made a lot of exceptions for the NRA, so there's a shooting range inside. Unheard of.
There are many different kinds of gun owners. You've got your hunters, your sport shooters, your collectors, your ex-military.
If you join, you get a duffel bag.
But this is the NRA Carry Guard Expo, and Carry Guard is insurance. Gun owners insurance for those who plan to use the firearm in self-defense. For as little as $13.95 per month, you can pay for the costs associated with shooting someone. So that means that this crowd is full of people who are either licensed to carry a concealed firearm or they're interested. Concealed weapons permits are regulated at the state level. As of 2017, more than 16 million permits have been issued across the US. Kind of makes you wonder how many guns are around you on a daily basis.
It's an inherent responsibility that says, I'm going to use this gun to protect myself and to protect my family.
This is Amanda Suffolcool. She runs a gun education nonprofit called Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, based in Northeastern Ohio. She spends her nights, weekends, and spare waking hours in defense of the Second Amendment. She coordinates a number of public outreach initiatives.
Question and answer radio show, Women's Day on the Range, police and community relations.
And one of them is a fashion show.
I'd like to welcome you to the first ever, the NRA Carry Guard Expo Concealed Carry Fashion Show.
When new people start to carry a gun, the first thing that happens is they're like, okay, I put this gun on, and they believe that they've got this neon sign pointing to that spot. And that's not really the case. And so the fashion show shows them that that's not it. They're looking at the models, and they're not seeing the gun until the model shows the gun. Some of the models work for the companies that are demonstrating the products. Other models are volunteers. So we just put out the word and said, would you like to volunteer to model on the runway? Some of them are really comfortable, and other ones are like, I'm doing this, but I'm way outside my comfort zone. And I love that. I mean, I really love that they're all willing to give it a try.
Hold up. Before we go further, you need to know that things weren't always like this in the US. Let's go back to the Bill of Rights. Here it is, the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. It's an odd sentence, grammatically speaking, and for a long time, no one really thought too much about this amendment. Meanwhile, the Civil War happened. Afterward, in 1868, the 14th Amendment was adopted, declaring that all persons have equal protection under the law. Around the same time, two men founded the National Rifle Association because they were so bothered by their fellow Union soldiers' poor shooting skills during the war. They wanted to sponsor trainings to prevent casualties in the future. Fast forward to 1966, when deep racial tension inspired the founding of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in Oakland, California. Many states, including California, allowed citizens to openly carry guns in public. The Black Panthers took advantage of this. They were pioneers of the modern pro-gun movement.
Am I under arrest? Take your hands off me if I'm not under arrest.
They linked their 14th Amendment rights to the long-ignored Second Amendment and interpreted it as allowing for an individual right to bear arms.
Code Section 12020 through 12027, and also the Second Amendment of the Constitution guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
High-profile assassinations rocked the country at large, and gun control was a priority at the state and federal levels.
Today we begin to disarm the criminal and the careless and the insane.
Even the NRA supported the push for new federal gun laws.
Well, I think it's a ridiculous way to try and solve the problems that have to be solved among people of goodwill, and there is absolutely no reason why out on the street today a civilian should be carrying a loaded weapon.
But in the wake of state and national gun control efforts in the early 1970s, more than a few gun-owning men took exception. They bristled against the increasingly apolitical nature of the NRA, and at an annual meeting, overnight, a few like-minded members overturned the leadership and constitution of the organization. The rest is history. Well, almost. As the public understanding of the Second Amendment transformed throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Supreme Court declined to weigh in, until Dick Heller came on the scene.
Hi, I'm Dick Heller. Dick Heller is the name.
In 2008, the outcome of DC versus Heller changed the legal interpretation of the Second Amendment to what Americans like Amanda and the modern NRA believe it to be today.
As your president, I will never, ever infringe on the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Never, ever.
But when you go on the NRA's website, there's a little discussion of the Second Amendment's text. It's represented in shorthand as a self-evident concept. Today, about 55 million Americans own at least one gun. But that number belies the true presence of guns in the US. There's an estimated 265 million firearms in the country, more than one for every adult. But half of these guns are owned by 3% of gun owners. Okay, back to the expo. Throughout the weekend, people will attend workshops on topics like homestead security planning and basic hemorrhage control. They'll shop for concealment furniture with cool secret compartments.
Wow! Now I'm gonna feel on everything and see if it has like a secret pocket.
And they might even seek out stylish and functional accessories to go with their gun.
So this is one of our most popular designs. It's smaller than most of our bags, so it's kind of like a clutch, but obviously has to be able to fit the weapon.
This is Chirag. His family runs a leather goods company, and part of that business is crafting handbags designed to conceal handguns. They call it chameleon bags.
All of our bags come with an adjustable holster. It fits pretty much any size gun up to like a 1911, so it's fairly big. It's ambidextrous, so whether you're left or right-handed, you can kind of get set up.
Because the zipper...
Yeah, you just kind of leave it. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, you would unzip it and kind of be prepared, either with your left hand, or you switch it around and it becomes your right hand. My mom designs pretty much all of it, and we're just trying to fill the need for a fashionable concealed carry purse.
Cool.
That's the idea, yeah.
Do you own a gun personally?
No.
This is Pamela. She's on the hunt for a concealed carry purse.
I love the idea that they're making it fashionable to conceal and carry for women. Men can put a holster and it's fine, but for a woman, I think fashion is important when you're talking about conceal and carry. I just started to learn to shoot and actually just bought my first handgun probably about just about a year ago. I really recognized that as a woman I needed to be able to defend myself at any time. I think that there's that conception that guns are horrible, and they're horrible when they fall in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to handle them.
The overwhelming majority of gun owners are like Pamela. They own a gun for protection. But people in the possession of a firearm are 2.5 to 4.5 times more likely to be shot in an assault than someone without a gun. The presence of a gun in a woman's home triples her chances of being fatally shot. And chances are, the person who will kill her isn't a stranger. What's more, women who are victims of crime use firearms in self-defense only 0.4% of the time. More than 500 American women are fatally shot by current or former romantic partners each year. The presence of firearms in a home makes it 5 times more likely that domestic abuse will turn deadly. But more and more, self-defense is something that is aggressively advertised to women.
An armed society is a polite society, and armed and trained women mean fewer rape victims, mean fewer assault victims, mean fewer soft targets. Armed and trained women, they make the world a better place to live in. They really do.
The efforts of American firearms retailers to market to women are pretty transparent.
Show your friends, neighbors, and family that past the fears and politics, there's nothing quite like firing a gun.
When gun retailers first started marketing to women decades ago, they had a simple strategy: shrink it and pink it. But the women who bought and tried these products realized they wanted something that was actually designed for them. So they made their own products and they started their own companies.
I'm Jackie.
The video,
Nice to meet you. Okay. Oh, right on. Hi. Hey, I'm Jackie. What's it? Mike, nice to meet you. Cool.
Yeah. Yours is really cute. I would go that short
thanks.
if he wouldn't. He was like, I don't know if I get short.
This is Tessa. She designed a stretchy and ridiculously strong universal holster that lets her strap her guns securely to virtually any part of her body. She calls it lethal lace.
You can try to break it, it's not doing nothing.
I really thought there was gonna be a point at which it was like, no, stop.
It's one holster, but it functions like 5 different holsters in one. So that's what.
Is it strong enough for like a Glock 26?
I actually have that gun. So if you put it in, okay, you have that handle. Now the Glock 26 is not as long. So when you put the Glock 26 in the pocket, it's not gonna stick out even this much, so it'll be easier to wrap. You can leave the handle out, or you can cover it up, depending on where you are and what danger level you're in, if you need that quick draw.
If you're wondering, Tessa didn't grow up around guns.
As a nurse, working late shifts at night, walking in the parking garage at 3 a.m., I didn't feel safe. So I took a concealed carry course, got my concealed carry permit, got my weapon, was trying to figure out something that would work with my scrubs. That's what sparked it, that I was gonna figure out a way to fix my problem.
And in the process, make a product that's been pretty popular. Popular enough to win an award at the Concealed Carry Fashion Show.
Julie models the Femme Fatale corset holster, which has lace covering a 6-inch wide corset, elastic designed to fit comfortably just below the bra.
While the Carry Guard Expo crowd enjoyed the fashion show, another crowd was protesting against it nearby.
And we say not today, NRA.
I feel the NRA promotes gun violence. We're all about saving lives, and more guns just equals more death.
Hello?
Hi, is this Annalisa?
Yes, it is.
Annalisa Dickman does outreach for the Wisconsin anti-violence effort, WAVE, a grassroots organization that works to prevent gun violence and gun deaths.
There's been so much violence in Milwaukee over the summer. There have been young children that had been killed. When we heard that the expo was coming, that there was going to be this fashion show, we thought trying to make light of the notion that guns should be everywhere in society by having a fashion show was really distasteful. It was a publicly owned facility, and normally guns are not allowed in the convention center. So we really felt like they were using public money in a way that doesn't promote public safety. And their response to us was basically, it's good for the, economy for them to be here. We just couldn't not made a statement about that.
What is it like to shoot a gun? I'd never done it before.
Growing up, my dad always had guns around the house, rifles, shotguns. He was a hunter, so I was always around them. Been married for, 18 years on Monday, and to an avid hunter.
This is Jenny. During the day, she works in advertising, but in her spare time, she hunts with her Springer Spaniels and teaches at WFTC. And today, she's going to teach me and 3 other women the fundamentals of shooting a handgun.
My goal for you when you leave today is to be educated. I mean, you're not gonna remember everything, but there's gonna be some of these points that I'm gonna drill into you so you do remember those and feel confident around firearms. 9mm, that's typically what I tend to shoot. It comes in 115 grain, 124 grain, 147. Here, that is your ejector rod. So what that does is the little rims here of the cartridge just catches onto those and pops them out all at once. Okay? From there, you can use 2 hands the first time. Push it, there you go.
Okay.
Now try the rod.
Cool.
Now put it back in and you're set to go.
Until I knew I'd be coming here, I honestly hadn't planned on learning how to use a gun, maybe ever. But after 3.5 hours of very comprehensive instruction, I felt ready, nay, eager, to don some ear protection, goggles, and test what I had learned. Never point a gun at something you're not willing to destroy. Treat every gun as it's a semi-automatic. Keep your finger off the trigger and out the trigger guard will follow your firing. Be sure of your target. Locked. Knees bent. There's this real geek factor with firearms, and I can imagine once you get into learning about caliber, handling techniques, accessories, and all that you could get really into it. For me, I can relate it to my interest in cameras or music or fashion. It becomes a hobby, sure, but maybe something more, a part of your identity.
Obviously, this is the first time I've ever shot a gun, and I got a bullseye in the same hole like twice in a row, which is wild. Today really complicated all of the views and notions that I've had about guns for so many years. I was really afraid of them. And that closed me off even from opening myself up to the possibility of learning how to shoot them or learning their mechanics. We went over all of that in the class today. Once you have one in your hands, it almost feels too easy. I would do it again. I'm still so far away from relating to people who carry concealed weapons, though. That seems like a jump.
Since the Carry Guard Expo in late August, 175 people have been killed in 88 mass shootings. At least 764 people have been injured. Las Vegas happened. Sutherland Springs happened. Chicago, Casa Grande, Arizona, Plano, Texas, Pedro, Ohio, Mapleton, Utah, LaGrange, North Carolina, and several other events that weren't as covered on the news. Amidst the outpouring of grief, people, like always, called upon their representatives to do something. Critics denounced NRA Carry Guard as murder insurance. But in televised interviews, NRA President Wayne LaPierre held his ground. Depending on where you stand, the other side can seem unknowable, alien. So it felt right to cap off this journey to interview a bunch of gun-owning white ladies in the middle of America who I don't really know by talking to someone I do know.
This is where you start talking.
This is my mom. She owns a gun and has a concealed carry permit. This is only the second time that we've ever talked about it. She's a really non-confrontational person, and she doesn't really see what the big deal is.
It all started because I like to learn new things. I tried going for my pilot's license, and I took flying lessons. And this is one thing that I was curious about because guns scared me, and I thought what better way is to go get a concealed weapons permit. And the class was like, I don't know, I'm probably wrong, but it was like 6 hours long. And after the test, you went out to the firing range and fired, and I did pretty darn good. I slayed that little white piece of paper, that little guy.
You slayed it.
I slayed him. He was all in the center. And the
was
guy,
it shaped like a person?
It was, yeah. Then later, I think it was like a year later, I went and bought a gun. I do carry it with me when I go up, because I go mountain biking with my friends, and we take trips, like in the mountains, rent houses out in the middle of nowhere. I'm not a big radical gun owner. It was just something that was nice to have, and it gave your dad peace of mind knowing that I had that with me just in case, because he likes to worry about stuff like that.
Just in case what?
Just in case I would need it, you know? You never know. I don't know. I'm not fearful, but...
Do you still not lock your doors at night?
Shh.
I think women gaining knowledge about any topic probably feels more empowered, but when you look at who owns guns and who's killed by guns, women bear a disproportionate burden of gun violence. Here is what sells guns. People buy guns because they are fearful.
My buying a gun and having a concealed weapons permit is a really benign thing. It's not like I'm going out and saving the world. It's just for me.